Have you ever been excluded from the most important moment in your child's life? Without anyone even asking how you felt? I have. It didn't happen during a fight. There were no raised voices. No tears. Just an email. Hi Mom. We finalized the guest list for the wedding. We've decided it's best if you attend virtually. We're keeping it small and intimate. Hope you understand. That was it. No thank you. No apology. Just instructions. Like I was a footnote in someone else's celebration. My name is Linda Dawson. I'm 60 years old. I'm a widow. And I'm the mother of 2 children, Rachel and Evan. Children I raised on my own. Children I gave everything to. And that day, my daughter made it clear. My presence was no longer required. Just a few weeks earlier, I had transferred $30,000 to help cover the wedding. The venue. The florist. The dream she wanted, I helped pay for it. Without hesitation. Because that's what mothers do. Right? Then I read the last line of her email. It's basically the same, you'll have a front row seat from your laptop. LOL. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just sat there. My coffee went cold in my hands. And something inside me shifted. Once, I was everything to her. Now, I was an afterthought. A bank account. The next morning, I didn't call her. I didn't ask for an explanation. I went to the bank. Carlos, the branch manager, smiled when he saw me. Good morning, Mrs. Dawson. What can I do for you today? I sat down. Set my purse on the floor. And looked him straight in the eye. I need to cancel a wire transfer, I said. He blinked. The one to the wedding venue? Yes, I said, my voice steady. That one. He hesitated. There might be a cancellation fee, depending on the timing. May I ask why? I gave a soft smile. The circumstances have changed. He tapped on his keyboard. Checking the transaction. You're in luck. It hasn't cleared yet. You're just in time. Just in time. That phrase stayed with me. 2 hours later, I was back home. There were already missed calls from Rachel. One from Evan. And a text message. Mom, please don't do this. But I didn't answer. Not yet. Because for the first time in years, I needed space to hear my own thoughts. I sat on the porch with a glass of red wine. The bottle I'd been saving for Thanksgiving. She was supposed to come home. She canceled last minute. Said work got in the way. And that was the moment it hit me. It wasn't just about the wedding. It was all of it. Every slight. Every silence. Every time I was treated like an afterthought wrapped in politeness. I remembered the first night after her father died. I held Rachel and Evan in my arms on the living room floor. They were shaking, scared. I told them they'd never have to face this world alone. And I meant it. And I kept that promise. I picked up extra shifts at the middle school. Tutored kids on weekends. Cleaned offices at night when the bills piled up. I cut corners everywhere. Drove the same car for 15 years. Shopped clearance racks for my own clothes. Said no to vacations. No to dating. No to rest. All so I could say yes to them. Every time. When Rachel wanted to study out of state, I paid. When she changed majors, twice, I paid again. When she called me crying after her second breakup at 27. I flew across the country. Held her hand. Cooked her favorite soup. In a kitchen that didn't feel like home. But I made it feel safe. When Evan wanted to buy his first house, I co-signed the mortgage. Gave him $10,000, no questions asked. I never kept score. Because I believed love wasn't about numbers. It was about showing up. Always. But that email. That cold, simple email. It made me feel like a transaction. Like I had been measured, priced, and deemed no longer necessary. Like I had an expiration date, and I'd passed it. And right there, on my porch, with the last light of day disappearing behind the trees, I made a quiet promise to myself. I will not beg to belong. Not in a family I built with my own 2 hands. That night, around 9 o'clock, the doorbell rang. I thought about ignoring it. But something in me said, no, open it. Trust your instinct, the one that's been silent too long. I walked to the door and opened it. It was Evan. Still in his office clothes. Tie loosened. Phone in his hand like a weapon he wasn't sure how to use. Mom, he said, stepping inside without waiting. Why aren't you answering your phone? I closed the door behind him. Hello to you too. He started pacing. Like he always did when he was about to deliver a message that wasn't his. She says you're not coming to the wedding now. She says you're being difficult. I tilted my head slightly. Difficult. For not attending a wedding I wasn't invited to? He sighed, already exasperated. Come on, Mom. You know how traditional Andrew's family is. They're the ones footing most of the bill. I stared at him. Calm. Direct. I sent $30,000 last month, Evan. I was about to send 50,000 more. Is that not enough tradition? He froze. His mouth opened slightly. Then closed. You were going to send another 50? I nodded. I was. Not anymore. His face went pale. Like the floor had shifted under him. Mom, they're counting on that money. The venue. The food. Not my problem anymore, I said. He stepped forward, voice rising. Of course it's your problem. She's your daughter. And I'm her mother, I said, softly. A mother who was told to stay home and watch from a screen. He rubbed his temples, like I was the one being unreasonable. Like I hadn't been the only constant in their lives. You always make things about you, he muttered. That did it. I took a deep breath. Let it fill every part of me. Then looked him straight in the eye. Get out of my house. He blinked. What? You heard me. Get out. Mom. No. My voice didn't shake. I've given everything I have. And I'm done being the villain in a story I wrote with love. He stood there, stunned. Speechless. Then turned and walked out. Quietly. The door clicked shut behind him. But to me, it sounded louder than a slam. I stood in the middle of the living room. My heart was pounding. My breath was steady. And in that moment, a strange feeling came over me. Not guilt. Not regret. Not even sadness. I felt free. The next morning, I woke up to 43 missed calls. 12 from Rachel. 3 from Evan. The rest, I didn't recognize. The first text came in at 6:17 a.m. Mom, we need to talk. Why are you doing this? This is childish. An hour later. The venue just called. The payment didn't go through. We're going to lose the date if we don't pay by tomorrow. Then, at 9:42 a.m. Andrew's parents are furious. They said this proves they were right about you. I sat at my kitchen table. Hands wrapped around a warm mug of coffee. And I smiled. Of course she didn't understand. How could she? She grew up with my sacrifices stitched into every part of her life. She never had to wonder where the next rent check would come from. She never had to skip lunch to pay a bill. She never had to say no to herself. So someone else could say yes. Because I did all of that. Quietly. Willingly. Without ever expecting applause. But when people grow up with unconditional love, they start to think it's permanent. Guaranteed. Owed. They stop seeing it as a gift. They start treating it like a service. That afternoon, while I was at work reviewing contracts, an email popped up in my personal inbox. Subject line: "Please don't ruin my wedding." I clicked it open. No emotion left. No hope. She wrote, "I know you're upset about the live stream thing. But this is extreme. We've lost the venue deposit. And if we don't pay the balance by end of day Paris time, the caterer walks too. Andrew's parents are saying this confirms everything they were worried about. Please don't do this. We can talk about you attending the ceremony. But we need the funds first." There it was. Not an apology. Not even a moment of reflection. Just a negotiation. Like my presence, as her mother, could be bartered. Like I was for sale. And they were offering a discount in exchange for urgency. I didn't respond. I closed the email. Went back to work. Around noon, Robert, my supervisor, stopped by my desk. "Lunch?" he asked. "That new Italian place just opened down the block." I almost said no. I always said no. I had routines. Quiet corners. Predictable days. But something inside me had shifted. Something new had taken root. "Yes," I said. "I'd like that. Over plates of pasta." He told me stories about his grandkids. How exhausting it was. How beautiful. How he wouldn't trade it for the world. Then he looked at me. Gentle. Genuine. "Forgive me, Linda, but you seem lighter today." I surprised myself when I answered. I told him everything. The email. The wedding. The money. What I had done. When I finished, he didn't flinch. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't tell me I was overreacting. He just nodded slowly and said, "Sometimes the hardest part of love is setting boundaries with the people we've given the most to." Then he reached across the table and gently squeezed my hand. And for the first time in a very long time, I believed him. That evening, just as the sky began to dim, I pulled into my driveway. The porch light clicked on automatically. Everything looked still. Peaceful. But someone was sitting on my front steps. As I got closer, I recognized her immediately. Sophia. Rachel's best friend since 5th grade. She used to spend entire weekends at our house. Baking cookies. Watching Disney movies. Falling asleep on the living room floor. In sleeping bags and mismatched socks. I hadn't seen her in years. She stood up quickly, brushing invisible lint from her coat. "Mrs. Dawson," she said softly. "I'm sorry to show up like this." "It's okay," I replied, unlocking the door. "Would you like some tea?" She followed me inside. Her eyes scanned the kitchen. Like it was part of her childhood. A place frozen in time. I filled the kettle. She stayed quiet. Finally, I asked, "Did Rachel send you?" She hesitated. Then nodded. "She's a mess," she said. "They lost the venue. The florist backed out. Andrew's parents are threatening to cancel the whole thing." I placed 2 mugs on the counter. Said nothing. "She's panicking," Sophia added. "She knows she messed up. She just doesn't know how to fix it." I turned to her. "Is that why you're here? To fix it?" Sophia shook her head. "No. I'm here to ask. Is there anything she can say or do to change your mind?" I looked at her. Would an apology undo years of being taken for granted? Would a single sentence erase a lifetime of quiet sacrifices? I poured the tea. Let the silence sit between us. Then I said softly, "No. There isn't." Sophia's shoulders sank. Not even if she apologizes? I handed her a mug. Words are easy, sweetheart. Especially when people are desperate. But the people who love you, they don't wait until you cut them off to finally see you. Sophia looked down into her tea. Nodded slowly. "I get it," she said. "Even if she doesn't." She looked up. Her eyes were kind. Sadder than I expected. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Dawson." "You don't need to be," I replied. We stood there for a moment. Two women from different generations. Bound by a truth neither of us wanted to say out loud. Sometimes, love has limits. And sometimes, the only way to be seen is to walk away. Sophia didn't stay long. She didn't beg. She didn't argue. She just thanked me, hugged me gently, and disappeared into the night. I stood at the door after she left, one hand still holding my tea. And I knew, with complete certainty, I had just closed the door on a version of myself I no longer needed to be. The wedding never happened. Not the way they planned, anyway. They scrambled to find another venue. But everything was either fully booked or far too expensive without the money I once promised. I heard it from Evan. They ended up holding a small backyard ceremony. A few weeks later. A few relatives. Andrew's parents. No music. No photographer. No flowers. I wasn't invited. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was missing anything. There was a time that would have broken me. A time when being left out would have left me in pieces. But now, I just poured my tea, opened a book, and sat in the quiet I used to be afraid of. Rachel sent me one more email. A long one. Rambling. Half apology. Half defense. The kind of message that tries to soften the edges, without ever taking responsibility for the blade. I read it once. Then archived it. Not to be cruel, but because I had no space left for explanations dressed up as love. I wasn't angry anymore. I was finished. There's a strange kind of peace that comes with letting go. Not loud. Not dramatic. Not soaked in tears. Just still. Like setting down a weight you didn't realize had shaped your spine. For the first time in decades, I didn't wake up wondering who needed me. I didn't check my phone for guilt disguised as affection. I didn't rehearse a response to someone who never heard me the first time. I made a new rule for myself. If my presence is negotiable, then so is my effort. I show up for people who show up for me. No more emotional overdrafts. No more proving my worth to those who only look my way. When something's on fire, I go to work. I read novels by the window. I joined a pottery class on Thursday nights. I make bowls and mugs with hands that once held everyone else's pieces. Now they shape things for no one but me. I eat dinner with friends who ask how I am and wait for the real answer. People who don't talk over me. People who see me as a whole person, not a service. Sometimes we laugh until our ribs hurt. Sometimes we just sit quietly. And that's enough. And here's what I've learned. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others warm. You don't have to shrink yourself so someone else can feel whole. You don't have to love people who only reach out When your silence inconveniences them. Sometimes, the bravest kind of love is the one you give back to yourself. Not out of spite. Not out of ego. But because you've finally realized you are worthy of receiving what you've given so freely to others. If this story speaks to you, pause. Take a breath. Let that breath belong to you. You're allowed to let go. Even if they're family. Even if they never say sorry. Even if no one else understands. You're allowed to choose peace over performance. Quiet over chaos. Wholeness over martyrdom. You're allowed to say, I'm not available for that version of love anymore. So if you've ever felt like a background character in a life you helped build, I hope you'll share this. Tell someone. Or just tell yourself. Because love without boundaries isn't love. It's sacrifice. With no return policy. And you deserve better than that.